Hey, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to take a look at a session from a skate park here in London. It's in Camden town, not too far away from me, but this is just the second time that I've been to this skate park. The first time was way back when I first started skating again, and so this time I felt like I had a bit better experience and was able to ride a lot better. Before we take a look at the footage, I just want to show you the skate park, at least the part where I was skating, which of course for me was the bowl. I don't skate street, and so I wasn't skating in the street section of this park. I just want to show you the bowl, and that it's not completely conventional. There's some funny quirks to the shape of it, and then we'll check out the footage. Okay, so this is the actual bowl itself. Hopefully you can see my mouse pointer here because I'm going to point out some notable things about the bowl. First of all, it's quite a big, long shape and has square corners at each end. The far end is like a nice square bowl, and it's not too high. It's probably about chest height when I stand in the bottom of it, and it's actually just good to use as a mini ramp. I usually drop in at that end and work my way down the bowl. So that top half is pretty straightforward. It then goes down a slight waterfall here, and then opens out into sort of two of the quirky sections. So first, as we come off this hip, this here is a similar transition to the smaller square part, but obviously it's a bit higher. Then goes into this kind of clamshell taco extension, which has oververt at the top of it, and it has quite a deep dish here. So if you ride into it, you feel like you kind of suck into this deeper dish in the center. So it's not perfectly round like perhaps a round bowl. And so later on in the footage, you'll see me trying to get to grips with that. And on the opposite side is a much more shallow transition, but goes up to a flat bank, and there's actually a step here. You can't see very well, but there's a stepped area. So there's one transition here which is getting on to be similar to this or this, and then it steps off to a slight transition at the bottom, and the rest is a flat bank going straight up, much the same as it is here, if you see that bit here. After that part, there is this hip here, which again is a strange little quirk and will catch you out if you're not keeping your eyes open when you're skating around. And that's one of the things about this bowl. There are a lot of little parts that will catch you out if you're not keeping an eye on what's going on. So that little hip is a little quirk, has a little step on it, and then continues up a flat bank. After that little hip, there's another slight flat bank, so it's a continuation of this part here on this side, and this across here is a step from this transition down to that flat bank. So again, kind of need to keep your eyes open if you're bombing around. And that's one of the difficult things about this bowl as well, is that a lot of the changes in the surface are kind of camouflaged by the different colors of concrete. So this waterfall, these flat bottoms, and the sides, you can see they're all different shades of concrete. And to me, that's really confusing if you're going around at speed and you don't know it very well, because things just jump out at you. You can't see any kind of uniform shapes because they all look like shadows. For me, I really have to be careful when I'm getting used to it, and I've not skated here long enough to really get used to it properly yet. After that gap, we go into the bottom, which is a big round bottom with square corners. That comes round and continues to a small vert wall extension. So this isn't quite vert around here, but this extension here goes into vert. It's about a foot of vert. The transitions themselves are slightly unusual for me, probably not unusual for a lot of parks, but just slightly unusual for me, where they certainly feel like a lot of the transition is in the bottom, and it feels like the transition is in the bottom there, and then it's almost like a banked flat wall up here. So it all happens down here for me and then goes up quite steep. The photo doesn't really show it so well, but if you can imagine, say on this wall around here, this to me feels where all the transition is, and then it goes steeper, so a bit more like a pool. So after the vert wall there's a roll in, and there's actually a change in angle of this transition. So this transition wall that goes up to vert is on a slightly different plane to this roll-in, so you can't continually roll around here. It starts to back away, so this is a slightly different angle to this wall. So that's a roll-in, but it's a roll-in straight to a waterfall. There's another waterfall here, so there's a waterfall here and here. It's kind of sketchy. If you roll in there, you're straight to that waterfall, so you either come down this side or you're gonna know about it. So yeah, this roll-in then continues around, and this is another very slight hit that takes you back round to that clamshell there. So it's not an easy ride from here straight around there. You know, riding over this hip doesn't feel to me so much like a hip because it's not so obvious like maybe this one. So there's an awful lot going on with this bowl, and even the surface itself is a little bit crusty. It's been a few years since it was built, and the surface isn't very smooth. It's not like marble smooth, like a nice polished surface. It's kind of got a sandy, gritty surface to it. And if you slam on this surface, it really hurts and it takes off all your skin. And even bailing to like a knee slide, you don't slide very well. The caps on your pads pretty much grip the surface, so really need to be careful. It's just not smooth by any means, so there's a lot to be careful about. You really have to keep your eyes open. But anyway, that's enough talking. Let's take a look at the footage and see how that went. Okay, so I start up the shallow end and then just get round those square corners and then head down the waterfall, and then pump around the square corners at the other end. And I just starting to get a feel of the shape of the bowl and the height that you get to when you get down that bottom end. And I thought I'd just go for a few of my old faithful axle stalls just to get a feeling. Some 50/50 grinds axle stalls. I felt straight away that the coping was way more sticky than I was used to. So you see my front truck kind of slows down and throws me off the front there, because it's slightly rusty because it's outside and it's always raining in this country. So, you know, just had a feeling there of how it is to go down the far end and up the steep part, and really just trying to get a feel of that bottom end, because you do get up quite a lot of speed by the time you've gone down those waterfalls. You are on that steep end of the bank. So yeah, lots of just feeling the place out at the moment. So I drop in on this part rather than all the way up the far end. You get a bit more speed off of that steep part and hit that corner a bit earlier. Rather than going down and hitting the middle of that transition, I thought I'd try and get the edge of that corner and go into the second corner. Still end up going really high in the middle of that bank. But it's that whole bottom part of the transition that I'm really trying to get a grip of. So once you hit that, it's quite a whip through the transition, and then you go straight up high on the bank. So feeling the balance to stay on. And then as soon as you get out of it, you're back onto that waterfall again. So as I said, you've got to really keep your wits about you and feel where you're heading, because you could easily get thrown off by an upcoming change in the transition. I'm starting to get a better feel of it by now, going for some longer runs. Ideally I'd be using all the shape of the bowl and lots of backwards and forwards, but I quite enjoy just bombing round and round. So I do a little bit of mini ramp type practice here. Not quite getting the corner, didn't have enough speed for that. So here I thought I would try that flat bank out and try and see if I could get into that taco shell. And I'm just trying to get to grips with getting into it because it dips away after that first. Where I hit it here, you can see where I hit it. It does then dip away deeper. And I'm just trying to get a feel of that and actually get round it more rather than straight up, straight down.
Aim a little bit wider now.
And I'm getting some encouragement and advice from my friend Dave here as well. Really trying to hit it and get round rather than just kick turn straight up and down. And it's a strange feeling. I've not really skated anything this shaped, so again it's all practice, something new. And it's way more weird feeling than you would imagine just by looking at it. Plus there's the thought of the oververt. I don't get anywhere near that, but just the thought that it's kind of infinite, that you can go all the way up into oververt. But once you kind of get the feeling of the balance of getting into that shape, it does feel good. You feel like you're kind of glued in with the G-force. And here's just a final run from my friend Dave, who's great at bombing around with a lot of speed. And he gets into that taco shell much better than I do. Nice round movement.
Nice.
Very cool.
You got it. That's good, man. Really good.
This is a quick run back at the Colchester Skatepark, filmed by my friend Tony. A couple of runs. If you haven't seen the previous session I did here, check out my other videos, but I was basically trying to get some corner grinds and failing a few times, but I got a few good ones. Just some basic kind of mini ramp axle stalls, and then try and use the bowl to pump up some speed. So getting around these corners, get some speed, get up high on the tiles, and then whip it round, try and get around the corner as fast as possible. Go around twice, and then I try and get a grind around that corner. Kind of worked that time. Not as big as it should have been, but it was all right. So a little bit of extra bonus footage there from a little run in Colchester. But as I said, that Cantelowes Skatepark is pretty fresh to me. I've only been there twice now. Apparently they've done some renovation work and some extra treatment to the concrete. I think they've skimmed the concrete a bit, at least in the flat bottom. I don't think they've done the sides, but I'll be keen to get back there sometime soon and see the difference that might have made. So as ever, I hope you enjoyed that video, and don't mind me talking all the way through it. Some people say they like it and like the explanation of what's going on, and other people just say it's too much talking. So let me know what you think in the comments, and if you want to see more of this kind of content, I'm still catching up on a lot of content from previous recordings of sessions. I can't edit fast enough for the amount of content that I've got, which could be considered a good thing, but it's hard to keep up. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well out there. Stay safe. Let me know how you're doing in the comments, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Take care.